Vedavedhye pare pumsi dase dasharathatmaje Vedah pracheta sadasit sakshad Ramayanatmana. While the essence of all Vedas was born as Sri Ram, it was the Vedas which were born as Srimad Ramayana. In the last episode, we did see how Kaushalya, who was pregnant for a period of 12 months, delivered the great son who would redeem the mankind of all its sins, called as Ram. While Ram was born to Kaushalya, we may also need to check what kind of an experience Kaushalya had while carrying Ram in her womb. Well, Valmiki has not gone to that extent of describing what great blissful experience she had. Nevertheless, we need to refer to Bhagavatam, which is one of the greatest Puranas that talks about how Devaki was pregnant with Krishna. Well, there in that work as well, Shukacharya, the son of Vedavyasa, has not elucidated to Parikshit on what kind of an experience Devaki had. Then, where do we seek such experiences? Yet, there is another philosopher in the Vaishnav Sampradaya, in the cult that talks about bhakti, total devotion towards Vishnu. And in that, a great philosopher called Vedanta Deshika, in his great epic poem called as Yadavabhyudayam, Abhyudayam means growing together. Yadava means one who has come from the Yadus race. Krishna, who came from the Yadus race, grew. And the poet says, let's grow with him. So this work was called as Yadavabhyudayam. In this Yadavabhyudayam, in over 2500 verses, this philosopher and poet par excellence called as Vedanta Deshika also dedicates a complete chapter on how or what kind of a blissful experience Devaki had while carrying Krishna. Devaki, who was a very emotional character, would always have tears in her eyes and would start weeping if any of the words that used to be so harsh and used to be pointed like the trident used to get uttered from the mouth of her brother Kans. While she was pregnant with 7 other children, because she had 6 deliveries, and the 7th kid, the 7th fetus was extracted or was pulled. Karshanam. Karshanam means to pull. And it was transferred to the womb of another wife of Vasudev called as Rohini, and she delivered the child. Since the child was pulled and transferred, he was called Sankarshan, and he was none other than Balaram or Baldev. The 8th time she got pregnant was with Krishna. Devaki, who would always sob, saying that why have I to be the victim of the wrath of my brother who acts in such a barbaric way. She would always sob, she would always feel, she would always weep. Now that she has lost all her 6 children and the 7th child has also been transferred to another womb, she would always cry. But the same Devaki, the same emotional Devaki, when she was pregnant with Krishna, she had a different feeling, says the poet. What was the different feeling? Since she was languishing in the jail with her husband Vasudev, while she would look to the watchmen, while she would look to the security men, she would look in a way as if she is going to consume them all by her sight itself. They were quite startled. This Devaki, who keeps sobbing, who keeps crying, why is she looking at us like this? The poet says, it is not her. It is not her intention to look at them like that, but it is the one who's inside who's looking at them like that. So, the one who's looking at is making use of Devaki to look at that. And Devaki would always say, Vasudev, can you please get me some water? Can you please open this window? Can you please keep the pot there? Her husband Vasudeva was himself surprised. Devaki was a character who would always do work by herself. Why is she become so commanding all of a sudden? The poet says, when she has the commander for the entire universe inside her womb, will not that quality of commanding reach an iota to her tongue as well? So, while she would walk, she would always feel that she was flying on a bird. At times, when you keep traveling in the flight for a long time and when you are back home, you always have the inertia as if you were traveling. When you get onto a bus and you've been traveling for hours together, say 10 to 15 hours, at the end of that particular journey, when you come back home, you feel that you're still traveling. Since she was having Krishna, the Lord, inside her womb, she felt that she was sitting on a bird and she was traveling. While she would lay down for a sleep, she felt that she was reclining on a soft, slithery couch, and it was none but the snake itself, because the Lord reclines on the serpent. So this was the experience that Devaki had while she was pregnant with the Lord, while she was pregnant with Krishna. It is the same Lord who is now going to incarnate as Ram to Kaushalya. Though Valmiki has restrained himself on describing what kind of a blissful experience Kaushalya had, nevertheless, we need to try to extrapolate whatever has been said about the experience Devaki had with Krishna to what Kaushalya would have had with Ram. It's said by a great poet in the south called Thiruvalluvar. He has composed a set of 1330 couplets called as Tirukural, which is a Tamil word that denotes a treasure house of good moral values and virtues. There he says, a mother finds 100 times more joy when she hears people say that your son is a very good human being, even more than the joy that she would have had while she delivered him. If the joy that a mother has in delivering a son is X, then when the same mother hears people say that your son is a very good human being, a very intelligent person, a very helpful person, a very magnanimous person, a very true human being, she finds 100 times more joy than it. So that was X and this is 100X. Here, interestingly, the person who has composed this virtue or spotted this value says, a mother finds 100 times more joy when she hears people say that your son is a great human being, rather or more than the joy that she would have had while delivering him. Simple. So, it means that the joy a person has in delivering a son, a mother has in delivering a son, is very much different than the time when she hears people say that your son is a good human being. But the poet Valmiki says that Kaushalya had the same amount of joy while a mother can hear people say that your son is a great son while she was delivering Ram herself. Why? Because while Ram was born, he accomplished whatever a person has to accomplish. Because while Ram was born, the very minute the people of Ayodhya were relieved that they would have a great administrator. He removed the worries of his father that he would be a very good administrator after him for him to succeed. He removed the worries of the Devas, saying that by being born on this earth, he would remove the worries of the Devas by annihilating all the demoniac forces on earth. While being born as a son to Kaushalya, he also told his mother that I am your son. You don't have to worry that you're childless from now on. I am your son. So he removed the worries of so many people, his mother, his father, the subjects of his kingdom, the Devas, at the same time the moment he was born. So, with the moment he was born, people started exclaiming that, hey Kaushalya, you've got a great son. So the poet goes to the extent of saying that the mother Kaushalya had the same amount of joy while she would hear years later that people would say that your son is a great son the moment he was born itself. So, Kaushalya delivered Ram. While I am saying the word Ram, still the children haven't been named. I just hope all of you who are listening to this would have just forgotten what these kids' names are. Now, the family priest, the Purohit, who was Vasishta, he was no ordinary person. He is regarded as one amongst the Sapta Rishis, the 7 revered Rishis of Sanatana Dharma. He is said to be the great-grandfather of sage Vyas. He is the grandfather of sage Shakti, Vasishtha was no ordinary person. He was a person of great austerities and immense meditation. He was the great-grandfather of sage Vyas. He was the grandfather of sage Parashar. He was the father of sage Shakti, and he was the husband to the very great renowned Arundhati. Vasishtha was invited by the king Dasharath to christen his children. Vasishtha went and he said, "Give me that child, the beautiful child, the resplendent child, the child with the halo to me." And he took the child of Kaushalya, put the child on his lap and said, "This child is nothing but a sign or embodiment of all auspiciousness. What do I call him?" And he thought for some time. While he was thinking, Mahakavi Kalidas in his magnum opus Raghuvamsham writes a beautiful verse. Rama ityabhiramena vapusha tasya choditaha namadheyam gurah chakre jagat prathama mangalam. If you would list down all the auspicious things in our Sanatana Dharma, people say that lotus is an auspicious thing, for from it arose Brahma, the son of Vishnu, and the lotus is the one that reminds us of the lotus feet of the Lord, the lotus hands of the Lord, the lotus face of the Lord, the lotus eyes of the Lord. Turmeric, haldi, is also auspicious. Medicinally, that is one of the best things that could have happened. And when you talk about Sanatana Dharma, it also reminds about the color of the Lord, because Chandogya Upanishad says, Hiranyamaya Purusho Drishyate. Hiranya means gold. Gold-like person is seen. The spice which reminds us of the gold is turmeric, and it is auspicious. Kumkum is auspicious. Likewise, we have so many objects which are signs of auspiciousness. Here, Ram is regarded as a sign of auspiciousness, and it is not the Ram, the human being that we are talking about. The name of Ram itself is very auspicious. Ram ityabhiramena vapusha tasya choditaha namadheyam gurah chakre jagat prathama mangalam. If one were to list down the auspicious things in the world, he would say the most auspicious amongst them all is Ram's name. Likewise, now we need to understand why was he called Ram. Ramayati iti Ramaha. When you would utter his name, the simple name, the word which has two aksharas, two alphabets, which is Ra, Ma, then we are just reminded of how beautiful the name is. Names need not have to be complicated. Names need not have to come after thousands of search on the Google. Names need not have to come after referring to thousands of books with millions of pages with a zillion and billions of names. Names could be simple. Names could be beautiful. Names could just be sweet. And if you would ask for one such example, why think? The only answer is Ram. Since the name brings so much of joy, so much of happiness, so much of ecstasy, so much of great experience, the experience of complete bliss. Hence, this name is so sweet to the tongue, hence it's called Ram. Ramayati iti Ramaha. Since the child was looking so sweet, since the child was an embodiment of all auspiciousness, since the child would remind of only goodness and goodwill in the world, Vasishtha said, "Hey Dasharath, let your child be called Ram, and Ram will be nothing but a person. Ram will be a person of great joy to all kinds of people, be it the young or the old, be the rich or the poor, be the Kshatriyas or Brahmanas, be the Vaishyas or the Shudras, to all classes of people, across caste and across gender. He'll be the only sign and the only hope of goodwill and enjoyment." But all that we have seen today is how beautiful the name Ram is. Even more beautiful are the names of his brothers Bharat, Lakshman and Shatrughna. For that, we need to wait for the next episode. Until then, thank you.